Hey, what's up? Hello. I hope you all are doing well. I am looking forward to this new year because it offers me an opportunity to push through books that have been sitting on the shelves for quite some time. Bex and I like to kind of get through some of the stuff that's really sitting around in our backlog by doing the Shelf Sisters series together, and that does help us to get through a couple different titles that we each select for each other. But this year, I think I'd like to try something which I'm calling 2023 BR, which is the TBR of the books I would like to read in 2023. So I'm going to talk about a few of those today. In other news, I am moving. So I will be moving 3 blocks down from where I live now and having to share a bookcase with my partner. So I don't know what my background will look like coming up, but hopefully it'll be even more exciting and full of more books, probably about history and war and Kafka. Anyway, let's get started. The first book that I plan to read this year is actually one that I'm already in the middle of, and that is Well Traveled by Jen DeLuca. This is the 4th book in Jen DeLuca's Well Met series, which are cute contemporary romances that all take place at a Renaissance fair. And she's written these because of her own love for Renaissance fairs. I picked them up because of Olive from A Book Olive, and they have proved endlessly just delightful and heartwarming. And I've learned a lot about Renaissance fairs in the process, though have never been to one. So if that is your thing, these are very cutely done. I'm kind of looking forward to the point in this book. I'm only like 3 or 4 chapters in when we actually get back to the town that the rest of the novels are set in, because right now we're on the road, and I'm not sure where this is going because we've started to venture out into what I would consider more auxiliary characters. Hopefully this will come back around to some more people that I'm more familiar with, but it's always nice to see where this is going, and I'm so excited. I think I'm the first one to check this out from whichever library this came to me from across the state. So very, very exciting. The next book that I think I'm obligated to look forward to is Tender as the Night by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This is one of the books in the Shelf Sisters series that Bex picked out for me a couple years ago. You'll notice that we're not super about pushing through all of the books in our series in a timely fashion, so I'm a little behind with this. I bought this during my early to mid-20s, which were just peak time both in life and in my personal life for disaffected millennial invested in Fitzgerald. I know some people probably stay permanently in that area, but that's where I was at the time. I don't know that I'm necessarily in that headspace anymore, so I bought a lot of Fitzgerald, and now apparently I have to own up for that. Fortunately, this book is set in the French Riviera in the 20s, so that will be interesting for me to learn about because that's a part of the world that I am intrigued by. But for those of you that know from past videos that I go to The Great Gatsby to read when I am unconscionably sad, hopefully this will be slightly more uplifting. And if not uplifting, at least just a little more fun. Next is a book that I've been talking a lot about recently, ever since I got my hands on the copy that I've looked for years, and that is The Glass Books of the Dream Eaters by Gordon Dahlquist, G.W. Dahlquist, if you will. This is the UK Penguin edition, which is the same edition that I read when I lived in London in 2013. I've been looked for it forever. It's finally here. This is just a steampunk adventure novel. There's a whole cabal of people who are fighting against like an overarching ruling class of people. You have to go and look this up for yourself. You just have to read about it. I really don't have an actual sentence structure to tell you how excited I am about this book, but I can tell you that it's very large, the font is very small, and the pages are considerably thin. So this will likely take me most of the year whenever I start it, and then hopefully I will read the second one that goes with it, The Dark Volume. This book I think was really interesting to me when I was 20 because I was off in Europe having my own adventure. The UK was still part of Europe then. And this is an adventure novel of like a very swashbuckling, swords, pistols in your pocketbook type of different adventure. And the YA that I had read up until that point was either contemporary or it was set in a dystopia, and so the adventures that I had been reading about were not set in this particular time period, and they didn't really involve the same sort of like high adventure, this man is an assassin and she is a fancy lady going to parties type of attitude. So this was really wonderful. It definitely gave me a different perspective on the kinds of books that I wanted to read, and it's just beautiful. There's a masquerade ball that takes place. Very much reminded me of the latter half of the series of A Series of Unfortunate Events, which I had read as a kid, but with a much more adult twist. Also on the list is a book called Persephone Station by Stina Licht. And I got this book at the library book sale, I think for $1 or $2. Honestly, it reminds me of that television show, The Expanse. Couldn't tell you why, probably just the title, probably the fact that this is a sci-fi book. I'm pretty sure this won a Hugo Award. I used to know what this was about. I've forgotten it. I've probably talked about it in a previous video, but it's been on the shelf for a couple years now. It's also quite big, and I either want to read it to make it go away if I don't like it. I don't expect to dislike it, so I want to read it to kind of get myself back into science fiction because I haven't read a lot of science fiction recently. And considering most people believe that science fiction equals space a lot of the time, this has a very spacey deal going on, so hopefully this will be a nice foray back into that genre. Also, the cover's gorgeous. I should also mention about this book that I am moving, so I want to get through some of the books that I am inevitably going to have to move this month, because in the event that I move again in the next 5 years, I don't want to have to move them twice. I am trying to divest of anything that I am not deeply and sentimentally attached to. So it's either I'm going to love this book and keep it forever, or I'm going to like this book and probably give it back to the library book sale. Also on this year's list is The Milk Lady of Bangalore by Shobha Narayan, and I have had this for a couple years now. It's been on my radar for longer than that. I really wanted to read it with my library book club, but there aren't enough copies in the consortium to make that available to us. But I found a copy of this locally and had to buy it because I can just tell it's going to be delightful. The book is about a woman who recently moves back to India with her family. The book opens with her finding a cow in the elevator of her apartment. I don't know if there's a better beginning than that, but that sounds delightful. She has an experience selling milk and just like returning her life into a country that she had previously left. So lots of probably family drama and adventure with cows, clearly running a dairy business out of her apartment. What is there not to love about this? This is only 220 pages. If I don't read it this year, I'm going to be irritated with myself. Because again, a lovely designed cover and probably a generational family story. So many people in my life have read this next book and loved it, and that's The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett. I also got this from the library book sale, and it's been sitting on the shelf ever since. You can tell how serious I am about books that I actually own because I buy them at a low price and then never read them. This year is about changing that attitude. This has been on so many book lists. I believe Brit Bennett is also the author of The Mothers, which is a book that I'm a little more trepidatious about, just because it sounds more intense. But I am definitely intrigued by this book, which is about sisters, each of whom kind of reads as a different race and the way that they move through the world separately. I know that something is good when it has positive reviews on BookTube, but I know it's extra good when there are also positive reviews from people in my life that I trust who also read. Once again, this is not the smallest hardcover book. It's more than 300 pages, so I would like to either be able to love and keep this, or I would like to be able to move it along, perhaps give it to someone else who would also want to read this book, and then this could be their copy. I love doing that with secondhand books that I get, is to move them along from person to person, so we'll see what happens. Once again, another beautiful cover. And lastly, a book that I am incredibly excited to read, and that is Feel the Burn by Andrew Schaefer. This is a Bernie Sanders mystery. Yes, U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders, my former representative when I lived in the state of Vermont. What else is there to say? This is a mystery starring grumpy Senator Bernie Sanders and his Gen Z intern who solve a case in Vermont. It's a murder mystery in Vermont. I'm sure there are probably a lot of inaccuracies about Vermont that will take place in this book, unless this author has really done his research. But I don't expect him to have. Bex and I are going to read this together. It's going to be incredible. It's going to happen in the fall, and we're certainly going to talk about it. All you have to know is that this intern's name is Crash, and also that someone in the book has ties to something called Big Maple. Just like Big Pharma, Big Maple. I don't have any words, but I do have this book, and I do intend to keep this forever, no matter how bad it is. So that's a smattering of books that I intend to be reading this year. Obviously, I'll be sprinkling in the book club books for Library Book Club, and also anything else that comes off my holds list, and probably a number of audiobooks, because I have discovered I love having a story read to me. If there's something you want to say about any of the books discussed, please feel free to leave a comment. As always, thank you so much for watching. Anything that you want to know about us is probably in the description. I hope you're having lovely weeks and lovely lives, and we'll see you very soon.